Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is the long-awaited Sell in May and Go Away Decoded. I'm really excited to share this with you guys today, but I'm sure some of you film lovers out there enjoy this picture of the May Queen from Midsummer, one of my favorite movies by Ari Aster. Definitely check it out, but not for the faint of heart. Anyways, moving on. Disclaimer, this content is not financial advice. Me, Waters Above, is not a financial advisor. This content is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and use any materials in this content as entertainment and not financial investment, tax, or legal advice. And during this presentation, I will be sharing what I plan to do in response to this market, and you should not be influenced to copy what I am doing. Cryptocurrency is an extremely volatile asset, and there are over 10,000 digital currencies available to trade 24/7, all 365 days of the year with leverage. So it's important that you are responsible for the decisions that you make with your wealth plan. We're entering a time in the market with increased volatility, which tends to increase anxiety, FOMO, and emotionally charged, emotionally reactive decision making. Well, here we have a beautiful and abundant conscious community. So this is the most important time to collaborate with each other. No blame game. Focus on love, stay in your abundant mindset, let the lack dissipate. Now, let's get to it. So, common saying, sell in May and go away. The collective, you might even hear it be said, sell in May and walk away. But I would like to add that I'd rather be a day early than a day late. And we got Wolfie over here saying the solar eclipse on April 20th of 2023, which is something we've been talking about now for probably about 10 months. And we're getting very close to it. Today is March 22nd, 2023, when we're filming this, just about a month away from this critical eclipse. So sell in May and go away refers to a long-standing stock market strategy of liquidating your positions in May, taking the summer off from trading the portfolio and re-entering the stock market in November. And based off of all my decoding over the past year, this exoteric strategy might actually be the best strategy for this year, 2023. Now, I'm sharing a slide from the Year of the Rabbit Decoded presentation that I shared with everyone on January 6th of 2023. I just want to go through this real quick, but you could see at the bottom I have highlighted key date of April 20th, that total solar eclipse. So this zodiac time frame in sidereal Pisces from March 15th through April 15th, sidereal Aries being April 15th through May 15th. And then in tropical, we have Aries from March 21st through April 19th. Now, currently we're in tropical Aries because, as I said moments ago, it's March 22nd. So tropical Pisces ends on the vernal equinox, which was just a couple days ago. And we are now in Aries. And tropical Aries ends the day before the next solar eclipse. So it'll be ending on that 19th of April. And remember, it's the following day that we have that eclipse. So technically, Taurus will start on the solar eclipse. This is very important to consider because Taurus, the bull, tied to finances. Now, this was another slide that I shared from that Year of the Rabbit Decoded. I combined a couple of them together just to touch on the key points here. And when we were sharing that Gematria decode, I was exposing how these numbers of 25, 52, 23, 32, and 12, 21 are absolutely crucial for this year of the rabbit. It's just because whenever we're looking at a number that we find, we want to mirror that number like we do in alchemy. You always mirror, never mimic. And 23 being highlighted because it is a prime number and a very special prime number, the ninth prime. We see this number 23 all the time in my decodes. Bitcoin in Chaldean equals 23. Mercury equals 23. Jubilee equaling 23. We're in the Hebrew year of 5,783, which adds up to 23. This is all very important to consider with that 2332 code. We're in that year right now. And then I've added May 5th of 2023 being the Venus and the Sun complete their returns on this lunar eclipse. So this event happens once every 52 years, just like we have that 52 connection back to rabbit, as you can see right here. This is just standard English ordinal gematria, rabbit equaling 52. And that rabbit tied to Venus, tied to fertility, tied to Ostara, which is that recent equinox that we just went through. And here we are, we're really in that energy as we're filming this. So here we are. I decided to make this chart because I thought it'd be very helpful. I have a little bit of a key over here where you can see ones being located on these circles, the bottom before our eclipses. This dotted line that's going across the screen is your solar eclipses that enter the start of a solar cycle. And we'll be getting into that in a little bit. But this line indicating the start of the solar cycle, which is happening after that eclipse bottom, and then it follows by stage 3, which is an uptrend that continues to new all-time highs. And let's just go cycle by cycle, and it'll make a lot of sense as we go through it. So this was back in 2011, 2012. We can see a blow off top peak coming down into a bottom before the eclipse that happened. There's your solar eclipse, which will be the start of that solar cycle, and then boom, just go up straight into what was a double peak cycle. This was a very powerful cycle for Bitcoin, and we saw something similar happen in the beginning phase of XRP, back when it was fractions of a penny. So a lot of people forget about that moment. But here you have this top coming into the 2013-2014 cycle, all-time high, which follows into a bottom right before this eclipse. Then you have your eclipse, which follows through to a new uptrend. And what's important here is noticing that the bottom that I'm circling, we never actually saw a lower price after the start of a solar cycle. So you can see we have a bottom, eclipse, and then no new low. We have a bottom, we have an eclipse, no new low. We have a bottom, we have an eclipse, we never went lower, even here during the C19 crash. So that was your V-shaped black swan event of C19. One of the biggest moments in history in the past 100 years, and Bitcoin still didn't go lower. So what we're anticipating is this moment right here, which was around November. It was also an eclipse, a lunar eclipse. We have bottomed, and then we are currently about to cross this eclipse line, which in all iterations thus far since the genesis of Bitcoin, we never went lower again. Now, I'm not saying that it is impossible for us to break this cycle, but thus far it's been very, very repeatable and cyclical. Another thing that we're seeing is into Q4, all-time highs, and then 1 year later, exactly a bottom. We hit all-time highs in Q4, 1 year later, bottom. We hit all-time highs in Q4, right there, 1 year later, bottom. So we have a lot to get into in this video, but I think this is an incredible chart to share, and I hope the way that I explained it was simple enough and not too complicated. I wanted to make sure that this was easily digestible for everyone. So moving on, I'm going to break this down by cycle, and up here just indicates the upcoming solar eclipse, which is mapped out right there on April 20th. Now, we're looking back at this last cycle, and we have this moment right here. I'm calling it the AR, which stands for automatic rally or automatic reaction when you do Wyckoff method. And that's my teaching. And for those of you that want to learn how to do Wyckoff method, I teach it very thoroughly in my crypto mastermind course. And I have incredible schematics and strategies for those of you that are a little bit, more inclined in the charts and you already know how to do TA, but you're looking to step up your game. That will be my advanced trading course. It'll be perfect for you if you want to really brush up on your Wyckoff method skills and put the Wyckoff method and have some utility to it, put it to work, because it is incredible. You can use it on the 20-minute chart if you like, all the way out to what is typically used on, which is macro cycles, looking at 4 to 8 year, even 100-year cycles. So with that being said, this right here is just zooming in at this cycle from the end of the prior bull run in 2018 through to the next blow off top kind of energy, I guess you could call it. It's not really a blow off here, but it was a cycle top. So this last mid-cycle peak or automatic rally was into the solar eclipse that started the solar cycle. So you can see perfectly topped out at the solar eclipse, and then we went down into the C19 event. The start of the next solar cycle for us right now will actually be this April 20th solar eclipse. So this is very, very important, guys, because this moment right here would be the same as this moment right here when you're talking about the energy of cycles. So in 2019, we didn't trade any higher after the following lunar eclipse. So that means that once we got to that solar eclipse and then it followed up about 2 weeks later with a lunar eclipse, we went into a short-term downtrend and we were sideways for about 400 days. This is a big reason why I'm planning to de-risk my portfolio around this solar eclipse, and I'll be getting into the detailed breakdown of that whole strategy later in this presentation. So the next lunar eclipse is going to be on May 5th of 2023. And since May 5th is a full moon lunar eclipse, this gives us a high likelihood that Bitcoin will top out closer to April 20th of 2023 and start to become bearish around May 5th. Again, I teach this in my work, even in my YouTube videos, that we're in a more bullish energy around new moons and we tend to be in a more bearish energy around full moons. So to be even more accurate with this quote for cryptocurrency, this year it should be sell in April and go away. So now that we have decoded the likely final bullish moments of this mid-cycle rally, let's decode when to expect noticeable bearish energy for this market. And some of the key dates that I've decoded in the background are May 17th through 19th. This isn't just for cryptocurrency. This is actually the world stage. This is big kind of energy that we're talking about here. That could be everything from stock markets, geopolitical events, all things considered. That would be specifically into that May 17th and 19th window. I am so excited to break this down for you guys, and I even have an astrology chart to get into later, which I normally never review, but I have some really esoteric stuff based in mythology that I could use to really give a different perspective on an astrology chart. So I think those astrologers that are here in this community are really going to be intrigued by that section of this presentation. So my overall market outlook for May of 2023, giving the key dates of the 17th through 19th, essentially from the 18th week of this year, which starts on the beginning of May until November of 2023, which is the 44th week of this year, I'm anticipating that time to be bearish. And it should be noticeable negative energy in the date range of May 2nd through May 23rd. That's when it should start to become noticeable in the charts, not only for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, but also the stock market. So we're just going to do a little bit of decoding here. We're not going to get too deep into it because I want to keep this simple for everyone and digestible. The noticeable negative energy date range would be May 2nd through 23rd, and May 2nd from an exoteric date numerology perspective, you have May being the 5th month and the second day, that's the 5-2 date. And as we talked about earlier, rabbit in gematria equals 52, so we have a connection there. May 4th with double digit date numerology adding up to 52, just like rabbit. May 5th being the 5-5 date, or 2 5s, we could look at that esoterically as 25, and it's on a Friday, which is Viernes, day of Venus. It's Freya day, and Venus in gematria equaling 25. And by the way, I like to do this sometimes when I look at numbers, especially with the Satoshi Nakamoto decode that I'm going to be sharing in about a month or so. because we have Satoshi Nakamoto equaling 55 in multiple ciphers, and that ties us to this May 5th date. And I've been talking about that for a while now. And it's crucial because 55 is two fives, which is the 25, and that connects us back to BTC equaling 25. Huge connection for sure. So May 11th is the 131st day of the year, which is the 32nd prime number. 131 is the 32nd prime. And in Gematria, hare equals 32. And in the Chinese zodiac, they typically refer to the year of the rabbit actually as the year of the hare. So just another thing to denote. And it's important for those of you that are decoders in our community. Rabbit, Venus, crypto, cryptocurrency, and BTC all have that 2552 connection in Gematria. 1 second. Okay. So some key dates, and we talked about the 17th through the 19th specifically. I want to bring up this Ethereum chart and just show you, this is really fascinating. From June 18th, which were the lows on Ethereum, it hit $880 over to May 17th, this key date, equals 333 days. So ETH is a very big player in all of this. Mythologically, it's ether. Ether in the mythology is the upper air that the gods breathe. It's part of the creation story in their mythology. It's very, very important. And I feel like ETH is that. Ethereum is that for cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So when I'm seeing these numbers come here by the chart, by the date, all of these connections, it's making me think, wow, this is kind of like predictive programming in a way. Being that May 17th is 333 days away from that low on June 18th, and May 17th is the 137th day of this year. You decoders out there know that 137 is in fact the 33rd prime number. To get very esoteric right now, the number 3, when you mirror it and lay it on top of itself, it is an 8. So 33, and you could also see ETH, the ticker symbol of Bitcoin, equaling 33. When you mirror the 33 and layer it on top of itself, it is 88. And ETH went to $880 on that day. Take the 0 away in the rules of numerology and you're getting the 88. Absolutely fascinating that we're getting this connection to 333 days later, which is perfectly on my May 17th date. Now, I'm going to be getting into this in a little bit later in the decode, but May 17th is the birthday of the New York Stock Exchange. So now you're definitely going to see why I've singled out that date to narrow down when I'm anticipating the next big noticeable event to happen on the world stage. Here it is. This is a very, very important part of all of this, and it's the sinking of the Titanic, which happened on April 14th through 15th. It's technically on the 15th in 1912. Now, this is going to be the starting point of a future decode I'm going to release, which will be about April 14th through 15th, and it has more to do with next year, and I'm not going to get into that just yet, but next year, that decode is going to be so incredible, talking about the Great American Eclipse plus the April 15th ritual, Bernie Madoff's death. I mean, it'll be really packed full of gems, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself for what we're getting into today. This upcoming April 15th will be the 111th year anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, the 111. Now, I'm going to get really wild here, and I'm going to bring in the Titanic film, which was released globally on December 19th of 1997. And from the release date until April 21st of 2023, being the day after this upcoming solar eclipse, equals 303 months and 33 days. Here you have the 33, rules of numerology, you remove the 0, and 33. Absolutely amazing connection here. And April 21st is the 111th day of this year. Like we were just sharing before, how it's gonna be 111 years after the sinking of the Titanic by this date. Mind blowing. April 21st being the 111th day, and the Titanic sank 111 years ago. All tied to this Titanic movie. And this symbolism right here is important to get into because the female is holding the cross. This is Leonardo DiCaprio, the sun. She is showing a sacrifice symbol for him. So there's so much symbology in these movies, guys. We'll maybe decode this movie in the future, especially if this event turns out the way we're anticipating with this big connection here. So from release date of this movie, December 19th of 1997, until May 5th, which will be the next lunar eclipse, equals 25 years. Remember, I was telling you the importance of that number 25, specifically this year in the year of the rabbit, and 137 days. So 25 years and 137 days, as I said earlier, 137, the 33rd prime number. So it's another 33 connection, along with the fact that it'll be 303 months and 33 days from release to the upcoming solar eclipse. We have a 33 connection for this movie with the solar eclipse and the next lunar eclipse. That is insane confluence. So just a quick recap, April 15, 2023 is the 111th year, 111 years since the sinking of the Titanic. April 21st of this year is the 111th day of the year. April 21st connects to March 10th, which was the day that Silicon Valley Bank failed by 1 month and 11 days, the 111, 111, 111. And March 10th also has 11 date numerology this year. Incredible. And taking from April 14th, the day that the Titanic started sinking, until May 17th equals 33 days. Remember, we've been talking about May 17th through 19th were the key dates here. And this date of May 17th also happens to be the 137th day of the year. Insane. That being your 33rd prime number. So reminder, from the release date of the Titanic film until May 5th of 2023 being that 25 years and 137 days, 33. This makes the day the Titanic started sinking on April 14th, 1912 until May 17th of 2023. 111 years and 33 days into the 137th day of this year, which is the 33rd prime, and this adds up to 1,333 months and 33 days. How much more numerologically crazy could you get than that? We're taking this movie that was a really exoteric thing on the world stage, very popular movie with very popular actors, very popular event, and this is all coded into it. So it's been 111 years since the Titanic ritual. You can see right here, Titanic in Gematria, full reduction equals 31. 31 is your 11th prime number, more 11s and 1s here. And 31 can also be perceived as 3 1s, which I was showing you. We can do that earlier. That's 111. And you could also see right here, sinking of the Titanic and reverse reduction, which I don't like getting too deep into these reverse ciphers, but it was helpful for this decode. You can see that also gives us the 111, more confluence. And the sinking of the Titanic connected to the double digit numerology. If you're typing in this exact date and the exact year, you can see that standard date numerology the double digit numerology, giving you the 49 and 50. This is a little bit deeper and kind of just a side note to add on to all of this, but I think it could be helpful for some. Just like we have the 7 cycles of 7 Shemitah, which is the 7-year cycle, this adds up to 49 years. And then on your 50th year is Jubilee. You can see that connection right there. On the day the Titanic started sinking, it was the 49 date numerology. And then on the day it sunk was the 50-day numerology, being the completion of the full cycle, the full Jubilee cycle. After this year, you would restart everything all over again. So I've been calling this 2023 year we're in now the year of the Jubilee, since I started sharing my decodes about the Shemitah going back 2 years ago. That was probably made popular by an interview that I had with Coach JV over at 3T Warrior Academy. It's quite a while ago, back in maybe, I would like to say September 2021, or maybe August 2021, right before the start of the Shemitah. So here we have this, gematria connection syncing of the RMS Titanic, which I just copied the exoteric title straight from Wikipedia. You're getting that 77. So again, that 7 times 7 connection that I was just talking about. 7 times 7 is 49, the day that this started syncing. And you can see syncing of the RMS Titanic in reduction cipher giving you the 110. Now, why this is important is April 20th, the solar eclipse this year will be the 110th day of the year. But in 1912, the year the Titanic sank, April 20th was actually the 111th day of the year. So I guess a leap year. And it's been 111 years since this ritual. So think about this, guys. This April 20th date is coded very heavily, all tied back to this Titanic event. Now, most of you probably know this, but the sinking of the Titanic ritual, there's conspiracy around it. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do firmly believe that it was a ritual, as all things are in the world stage. But this ritual was, in fact, tied to banks and the Federal Reserve System. As you can see right here, Benjamin Guggenheim, Asa Strauss, and Jacob Astor, all people who opposed the new Federal Reserve Bank. Remember, this happened in 1912, and the Federal Reserve System went live in 1913. There's probably more decoding that I could add to that in the future, but all three of them died in this event. And just a side note that many of you probably know by now, but JP Morgan, the Rockefellers, and Rothschilds run the banks. Anyone who doesn't go along with their plans are removed from the chessboard called society. So here we have it. This is a more of a common decoder knowledge that New York adds up to 111. It's been 111 years since the Titanic ritual. This naturally brings us to this May 17th finding, which has everything to do with the New York Stock Exchange. It'll be moving into the 231st anniversary. So not a ton of code there. I mean, when it gets to the 233rd year, I think that'll be fascinating. But for now, it started in 1792, and this is where the decode gets crazy. It started in the year of the rat, excuse me. The year the stock market opened, the New York Stock Exchange, was in the year of the rat, and the last year of the rat was from January 25th of 2020 until February 11th, 2021, which was during the beginning of C19, single biggest global event in our lifetimes. So think about this. The stock market in America was launched during a year of the rat, and then we had this epic event happen, C19 pandemic, in the year of the rat. And to top it all off, we were in the year of the rat during the 2008 crisis. This was one of the biggest financial crises in our lifetime. And it's important we speak on this specifically because we do see similar environment in that regard with housing in this current economic environment we're in today. Way worse, actually. And we didn't have Bitcoin back then. So we didn't have cryptocurrency during this 2007, 2008 event. And that's what's making me be more open-minded to how this could all go down between May and October of this year. Another thing to mention was Lehman Brothers, a bank that lasted over 170 years, failed on September 15th, 2008, just 2 weeks before the end of the Shemitah. And going back to what I was saying before about the interview that I did with Coach JV over at 3T Warrior Academy, I was exposing the importance of the Shemitah when it comes to all of these big financial crises. 2008, 2000 with the dot-com bubble. You go back 7 years before that, you have the bond market crisis in 93, 94. You go back 7 years before that, you have the 87 Black Monday. You could just keep going forever, and you're going to see that this Shemitah is everything when it comes to the big blow-off bull runs and the big financial collapses, the big stock market crashes. You guys are well aware of that by now. So it's also funny how September 15th this year is the start of Rosh Hashanah. So it will be in the finality of Jubilee. Just kind of amazing. I do think that in my next decode that I'm going to share about October, it's going to be bringing up a lot of the things that happened back in 2008. So getting into this, the year of the rat's significance, it was the year of the rat in 2008. The Shemitah then was a very powerful time because Rosh Hashanah started on the day leaving 93 days in the Gregorian year, and Saturn in basic gematria adds up to 93. And remember, Shemitah is the Saturn year, so that was all perfectly coded. But rest assured, we won't be in the year of the rat again until 2032. And the next Shemitah will be 2028. So just to kind of like ease everyone, we usually have our biggest financial meltdowns during the end of the Shemitah, and up to 1 year after is when we tend to see markets bottom out. So this is important, and this might help everyone kind of be a little bit more relaxed and less anxious about everything I've been sharing thus far. It's between May of 2023, which we're approaching soon, and May of 2024 is about as bad as I personally see things getting in this market, all the way until about 2029. So that's a very positive thing. And crypto should do well after May of 2024 into early Q1 of 2025. To be determined, of course, but we have in that transition between March, April, May of 2024, sometime during then, we'll have the next Bitcoin halving event. And typically about 3 months to 6 months after the halving event, we see price discovery, new all-time highs. Once Bitcoin starts entering price discovery, everything else typically follows. So the stock market overall could take longer to pull off a new bull run, if you will, depending on the sector, of course. We're changing a lot lately. We are moving tech, quantum. We're moving into AI, metaverse world. So be open-minded to this, but essentially crypto still moves faster than stocks is kind of what I'm trying to say here. So December 30th is a very important time because that'll be the 222nd anniversary since the London Stock Exchange was founded. So we got into the New York Stock Exchange earlier. Now let's get into the London Stock Exchange, which is older. And I think it's amazing if you look down here. This is a picture I got off of just the basic Wikipedia page, and it's at Paternoster Square. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's near the London Stock Exchange. I believe it's outside of it, and you could see clear as day that these are sheep and a shepherd. I wonder who the sheep are. So December 30th, 2023 will be the 222nd year anniversary of the London Stock Exchange. And if you take from May 22nd until December 30th, it'll be 222 days. So this is really incredible, guys. I'm bringing it all in on this decode. So let's go very esoteric right now and revisit the calendar. And our Gregorian calendar that we use is a scam. March should actually be your first month. April, naturally, your second month. May, your third month. We know this because the month of October makes no sense being the 10th month, considering oct is the prefix of 8. And nov for November, novem is the prefix going to the number 9. And you have December, or DEC, for 10. Right? So our system is all distorted, and etymology reveals the scam. So getting back to it, May should be your third month in the system, which means that May 22nd is technically the 322 date. Not today. It's funny that I'm filming this on March 22nd because in the Gregorian system, that would be the 322 date. But we go a little bit deeper, and it's actually May 22nd. And now this whole idea of sell in May, walk away shouldn't be as confusing to everyone. And we're in the year of 2023, the 223 year, approaching this May 22nd date, the 322 date, which is 222 days apart from the 222nd anniversary of the London Stock Exchange, which came before the New York Stock Exchange. Now, what makes this mind-blowing is the fact that May 22nd is also the day leaving 223 days in this year. Think about that. Here we have Skull and Bones. We are well aware of this 322223 code by now, tied to Yale, which, look at this emblem. straight off of Wikipedia. Judaism vibes, Zionism vibes, and this lux et veritas, meaning light and truth, if you say so. So the London Stock Exchange founded on December 30th, and if you take from the solar eclipse, which will be on October 14th of 2023, until this date, it equals 77 days. We talked about that connection earlier with the Titanic by the code. And the day after, October 15th, will actually be leaving 77 days in the year. So October 14th, 77 connection. The day later, the pivot date, encroaching date also has the number 77. Now, if you take from September 11th, which will be the 22nd anniversary since the 9/11 ritual, up till this solar eclipse on October 14th, it's 33 days. So this is just a taste of what's to come in October around that solar eclipse, which I assume will be a window of time for the entire stock market to bottom. 1 year after the end of the Shemitah, which I exposed over a year ago when I was first talking about this, and I released my Shemitah Decoded and my Jubilee Decoded. So definitely, if you haven't watched those yet, you're here on Patreon, you might as well take advantage of the exclusive content here. Definitely go rewatch the Shemitah Decoded and Jubilee Decoded if you haven't in a while. And if you're new here, you need to check those out. That is like perfect leading into this decode that I'm sharing with you today. One moment. So let's continue to build off of these May date connections. We have March 10th, 2023. Just recently passed a couple weeks ago. Silicon Valley Bank failed on the 69th day of the year. And 69 days later is May 18th. Again, right in that tight little window that we spoke about earlier. Now, this date span, not only 69 days later, it's also 9 weeks and 6 days. You have the 96, 69 as above, so below. And from March 10th to May 22nd, so March 10th being your date that Silicon Valley Bank failed, to May 22nd, it's giving you 73 days, which is the 21st prime number, and the significance of this number 21 tied to Saturn. And since we're in the Jubilee year, Saturn is still very important as it was last year when we were in the Shemitah, again, the year of Saturn. So May 23rd is also interesting since it leaves 222 days left in this year and connected to the April 20th solar eclipse by 33 days. So much going on here, but it's showing you that when I said to expect energy from May 2nd up to around the 23rd, this is all the reasons why. And if I had to dial it in really specifically, it would be May 17th through 19th. I'm just giving you as much as I possibly can in this decode today. So remember that May 19th, 2023, it has this 67 and 22 date numerology. This is just like the day that the Federal Reserve System was founded, when it was back in 1913 on December 23rd. And the first day of Rosh Hashanah this year, September 15th of 2023, will also be the same date numerology, which are exactly 119 days apart. Think about this, guys. This 9/11 and 11/9 has been huge in the crypto market for the past couple years. So remember how Terra Luna hit an all-time high of 119 before crashing essentially to zero? And FTX crashed into its initial lows on November 9th of 2022, the 119 date. Both events happening on lunar eclipses. Both separate companies tied to this 119 number. 9/11 mirrored. The next lunar eclipse is May 5th, and speaking of 9/11, this upcoming September 11th will be the 22nd anniversary of that ritual, and September 11th is the day leaving 111 days in the year, and it will again be the 111th anniversary since the Titanic sinking. This is incredibly coded. So we're going to be getting into something that I don't normally review, and this will be more for the astrologers who are in our community that can read these charts, but we're just going to quickly go over this. We have a very important opposition here between Mars and Pluto, And how this can quickly be interpreted with this opposition is struggling for power. You could think of competition, perhaps transformation out of whoever is the winner of this so-called competition. You have Mars being really fiery, and of course that's tied to Aries, the god of war, and it's moving into Leo, which again is fire. This is a very fast-moving event, so by the 22nd of May, we'll see Mars in Leo. So what we're really dialing in here is the astrology chart for May 19th of 2023. And right here in Taurus, look at this action going on. They're all hanging out, all the big players. We're on a new moon. You could see that right there with the sun and moon next to each other, 27 and 28 degrees. You have the North Node also in Taurus, which purpose here is kind of financial. Obviously, if it's Taurus, it's always in finances. And we also have Uranus, Mercury, Jupiter all hanging out together. This is a lot of action. It's a big party right here, all in Taurus. So Uranus, by the mythology, is your father's sky, that sort of energy. You have Mercury being the prince of the power of the air. That's tied to fiat money, money created out of thin air. That's the mercurial vibes that we're getting when we talk about finances. Again, being in Taurus, that's big. Then we have Jupiter. Jupiter sometimes is like just exoterically agreed upon having to do with being lucky. And what I teach is it's not that luck is always good, because you also have bad luck. And remember, all of 2022, when we were in the year of the tiger, which was tied to Jupiter, the striped planet, we had a lot of negative, unlucky energy tied to Jupiter. So just be open-minded to all of this right now, guys. As you're learning, especially if you're learning from just exoteric, like basic tropical astrology stuff, you really want to learn your mythologies, and you really want to cross-reference it across as much as you possibly can so that you can get the esoteric within the exoteric. And by now, these chart readings and all of that are very, very exoteric. Anyone can just hop on YouTube and find out about this, but the symbolism and to be able to decode all the connections, that's what's the deeper layer that requires you to really take a step back and do your own soul searching through what these are by the mythologies. And that's what I tend to focus on here. So over here on the right, we have some things going on. I'm just showing that we have Mars right there, and it will be in Cancer, moving into Leo about 2 days later. Think it'll be on the 21st or 22nd. And then you have homie Pluto, or Hades, god of the underworld, who's also Osiris. And you can see the symbol that I put below that is Aquarius. So Pluto is in Aquarius. That's big. A lot of people talk about the age of Aquarius and moving into that. So that's a big teller, in my opinion, when you have this connection. So if you were to perceive all of this, I'm just going to quickly share how I'm looking at it. Mars is the taker of life, god of war, the one who kills and sends the death down to Hades, down to the underworld. Mars is your taker. Pluto is your receiver. And I put this hourglass here because this is all energy. And once this bottom chamber is filled up, you got to turn it around and restart the process. It's not that it's all one direction. It's that it's exhale, inhale, breathe in, breathe out over and over. It's the Ouroboros. So whilst life is being taken or lost, life is being brought to the world. You know, we have birth, death. It's just the cycle of the matrix, of the simulacrum. So to quickly just share how I'm feeling about this, we have a tough aspect here for sure with Mars direct Pluto, Mars being your taker, Pluto being your receiver. But with Pluto in Aries, Pluto in, Aquarius. Well, what's Aquarius? It's the water bearer. It's the man bearing the pitcher of water, pouring out the water. It's an air sign. So it's a giver, if you think of it that way. So we have an energy cancellation here, I see, with Pluto entering Aquarius. Again, he's the receiver, and you have Aquarius being the water bearer, the water pourer, and that is giving, right? Just these two together has sort of canceled out and neutralized energy for me, especially since Mars will shortly be in this for only a couple days, moving into Leo, ruled by the sun. Currency tied to gold. But remember Mercury. Mercury is a big part of this too, tied to the Federal Reserve System. Fiat money, money created out of thin air, right? So one other thing to mention regarding everything that I just shared is we have Mercury station retrograde from April 21st, the day after the solar eclipse, until May 14th. Just a couple of days shy of that window that I spoke of, May 17th through May 19th. So this is what really sealed the deal for me about May 19th. And since it's on a Friday, it's still happening during the trading week. I think that this will definitely affect markets for sure. And by the weekly open a couple days later, once Mars has moved into Leo, that to me will be obvious. It will be noticeable by then. The sell in May, walk away energy has initiated. This chart really seals the deal for me on everything else that I've decoded thus far. And if you guys enjoy me interpreting this from a different way, in a different fashion, let me know, because I'm going to be doing thorough breakdowns of all of this stuff when I make my decoding mastermind, which will be coming out probably sometime before the end of August. So I had a lot of fun looking at this, and all that energy packed into Taurus, again, dealing with finances, definitely something is making me curious how this weekend is going to go from this Friday through the following Monday. I think it's going to be big, very big. Remember, this Mars-Pluto opposition, it's all about competition, struggling for power, really attention-seeking, transformation. Lots of fiery energy for sure, but this neutralization of energy is also not making me feel really awful for the long term. So now we're going to go a little bit more of an open-minded take on Bitcoin during a transition from a lunar cycle into a solar cycle. You've been hearing me talk a lot about this, and we'll be transitioning into the solar cycle on April 20th eclipse, which is coming up very soon. So we really want to be open-minded here. We were talking about this, but what about 2017? I think we're going to have a lot to chew on after we're done watching this decode. I would love to know some of your guys' thoughts. Definitely share your comments below. Any astrologers out there, whatever you're thinking, let me know. Because if you can take what I've shared and go back into 2016 and see what was going on, and then go to 2019 and see what was going on there, with the charts, I think you're going to be able to make a lot of sense as to why Bitcoin behaves at different stages of the lunar cycle, especially when it transitions into solar cycle. So here we are, we're analyzing the 2016 solar eclipse. In the 2013 through 2016 cycle, the automatic rally extended past the solar eclipse into June 17th of 2016. So you could see right there, this dotted line was your solar eclipse. We entered the solar cycle, and then we actually finished our automatic rally in this moment. And if you go from this sharp peak over to this new leg up, that was about 200 days. And if you go from this peak right here until the next leg up, it took 200 days. So all in all, it took about 400 days in the cycle. And if you go back to this moment right here, from this cycle top over to us entering price discovery, also took 400 days. Think about that. So this is making me very open-minded. That's why I titled this an open-minded take on the transition from lunar cycle into solar cycle. But look at this connection right here on the solar eclipse into June 2016. We actually peaked, and in 2019, the automatic rally ended on June 26th, both having this really noticeable bullish energy in that June timeframe. So there's definitely a pattern here with June for the automatic rally phase. I'm not going to discount that. That's why I wanted to add this part, because I don't want to seem like I have a bias towards exiting the market in April without looking at all the data. This kind of stirs things up for me, actually. So I'm just being very honest and very transparent, because this is the clear pill. So there's a pattern here for June. And the solar phase started on March 8th of 2016, back in this cycle right here. And on that solar eclipse, Bitcoin remained bullish all the way until 2018, as you can see here. So now let's compare both of the rallies structurally. Here we are, we're at that 2013 through 2016 cycle. Remember, one is the bottom. The dotted line is your solar eclipse moving into solar cycle, and then you have continuation. And both charts on top of each other, the 2017 through 2021 chart right here. So 2014 through 2015 was a Shemitah year, which happened during that cycle. It was happening all throughout this bottom. And there was no Shemitah during the 2016 through 2018 cycle. No Shemitah involved at all over here. The last Shemitah was 2021 through 2022, which happened during the cycle that we're actually currently in right now. We're in the finality of what people are calling the bear market. And this makes the 2013 through 2016 cycle right here actually a little more similar, when we're all things considered, to the current cycle we're in. But my intuition tells me that we will experience a combination of both cycles structurally. But we have to admit that economic climate we're in today is way more dramatic than anything we've seen since probably the 2008 crisis. We're dealing with a very different beast right now since the C-19 event and the Fed's response to it, which is essentially printing into oblivion. As most of you are aware, in that 2020 through 2021 timeframe, the Federal Reserve printed more money, double the money supply actually, in that single year than in the entire existence of the Federal Reserve System since 1913. Think about that. That's insane. So now we're getting that hyperinflation. We've all anticipated it. That was a very big reason why I started to get into crypto back in 2020 into 2021. I was anticipating the inflation to kick in because the Fed came out and admitted they were going to do it. So this is making me want to respond more conservatively regarding the timing of everything and respond more aggressively regarding de-risking my portfolio. Again, not financial advice. I'm going to break that down, but I just want to say one thing really quickly. Because we have this pattern of this top right here and this top right here happening in June, I'm still going to decide to respond early with my moves, even though in both cycles, both automatic rallies topped out in June. We have that evidence in the charts. So I'm just going to recap in conclusion that last statement I made. This is making me want to respond more conservatively regarding the timing of everything and respond more aggressively regarding de-risking my portfolio. So what I mean by timing is in the last two lunar eclipses, we saw basically targeted black swan events in the crypto sector. We saw Terra Luna and FTX, their FTT token. Remember that. Those were on lunar eclipses, and it was targeted to the crypto sector. The next lunar eclipse is on May 5th of 2023. So I am not going to disregard this fact. I am aiming to de-risk my crypto portfolio before this specific eclipse, regardless of what happens in the market. I mean, ultimately, it's only a month away from June anyways. So what I mean by de-risking is I will be liquidating my overexposed positions, which I plan to get rid of about 80% of my entire altcoin portfolio. I plan to hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, but pretty much everything else I'm going to be getting rid of about 80% of all of it. Some things I'm going to completely get rid of, and I'm going to rebuild everything, restart everything near the fall time, end of this year, probably after November. That aligns perfectly with the sell in May, walk away decode anyways, thinking of the eclipse that'll happen in October as well. And I plan to make a decode for that as well, but let's give it some time. So I will be taking action on this. So I know this might sound like something that's very, very, dialed in and perfect because the decode is really thorough and has all of these connections. But remember how we started off this video with that disclaimer. It's important that you do what is best for you. You do your own research and make moves based on your wealth plan. I'm just here to be transparent and share everything that I'm seeing, everything I'm analyzing, just being transparent with you guys. So for determining how I will personally calculate this de-risking phase, I will utilize the strategies that are in my exit strategy blueprint, prioritizing the conservative targets because this is not a time to be greedy. That automatic rally phase that I talked about, that I've been warning people about for over half a year now, it is a blow off top in most cases. So you want to have your limit orders set. And that is taught in my exit strategy blueprint. Not only how to determine those price targets, but also the idea and the philosophy and everything around it. Coming to the portfolio you have, determining the numbers, everything. It is essentially the same method, identical method that I will personally be using for de-risking. And remember, this is not financial advice. But if any of you are interested in that exit strategy blueprint, it's only $45 for Patreon supporters. You guys get a 20% discount on it, or it's actually included in my crypto mastermind course, in that entire course, which gives you even more value because that teaches everything from building portfolio to learning technical analysis, learning how to read the charts, and decoding cryptocurrency with the exit strategy blueprint included at the end. So it has incredible value, and you guys get the biggest discount here as Patreon supporters. So just a couple things in signing out. Feel free to subscribe to my website if you want to get on the mailing list. It's for free. And my Twitter over at Waters Above, I'll be sharing updates both here and there. And final update, there are new spots available for my group coaching Patreon membership. It's my expansion group coaching, and that membership will include my newest expansion mastermind course for free within that membership. We will be doing a group coaching call tomorrow, so I'm really excited to do that. Again, I appreciate everyone's support. I am super grateful for every single one of you. This is the best community. I'm really looking forward to how the rest of this trading day is going to go after the Fed spoke earlier. You could see a lot of volatility in this market. I will be making a new video soon to just share my specific analysis on this current market as of the last 48 hours since I released my Red Pill podcast. But definitely make sure to go watch that last Red Pill podcast. It was packed with analysis and data for you guys to take notes on what to expect in the finality of this month of March and as we move into the month of April with that very important eclipse that we've been talking about for a while now. Again, I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you enjoyed this decode. Feel free to comment below. Much love.